Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It is about 11 o'clock, second video of the week. This week is shaping up to be quite exciting. I think we have a good another 2.5 days of trading here. So let's get into it. The most important thing is the discussion regarding NVIDIA. Their earnings today come after the bell. Uh, we are going to find out which way the market moves, I think, based off that news, how the market receives it. For the record, I'm not playing NVIDIA. I don't own NVIDIA. I'm not going to option chain, either call or put. I have no dog in the fight. I will say that that is going to determine a lot. I think the implied move was pretty substantial in the option chain. I don't know the exact percentage, but basically the market is saying it's going to shift the market one way or the other. So here nor there, that comes after the bell. Let's look at the NASDAQ. As when we're always investing and trading, we always want to have the tailwinds on the upside. We always want to have when we're going long, and on the downside whenever we go short. So we always want to have that and context that. So first of all, let me start off by saying for a lot of people that have been texting and sending messages that the world is ending, look, from capitulation in April, which was from trough to peak, I think it was almost 7 months, we've had like a 60 something percent move upwards. Stands to reason we're going to have a little give back. And we have. I think we're down about 8 or 9% off the high. Not the end of the world by no means whatsoever. Not garden variety, but to be expected, right? Okay. So we are below the 50, we are below the 21 here. Not ideal. So for me, I have guardrails, and the way I play these things are very simplistic. Once we lose major moving averages, I start to lighten positions, I start to take things off the board, and I might consider shorting things in a temporary fashion or hedging portfolios, which we're going to discuss all of that in today's video. So for me, I saw this slice, I became more defensive. Does not mean I'm not nimble and I'm not willing to get back in. I treat this like insurance because I don't know how low it can go. And I'm not interested in this going down here in the event that something like that could happen. It has happened here. It has happened here. You get these indications. A lot of people could have saved themselves a lot of grief, like as an example here. Once you lost these averages, you probably could have got out anywhere around here and you'd have saved yourself a little bit of aggravation. So I treat it that way. Anyways, this is not necessarily constructive. What you want to see is not making a lower low. So again, 24,372, which is slightly below where we're at. We don't want to lose that low. The low of Friday, we lost that. The lows are never usually in on Friday, so I didn't expect it to be. So I did expect it more selling after Friday's low, hence why I made some decisions on the short side, and I'll share that in a minute. So that's done. As you can see behind me, the market is dripping a little bit this morning. We started off on an upside, and now we're dripping to the downside there. Bitcoin getting absolutely ramrodded, no lubrication. I mentioned this on Monday. I mentioned this last week, and I'm a Bitcoin guy, Bitcoin believer, but this is going lower. And the people that were screaming discount on Monday, and they were like, I'm going to buy, it's on sale. Please, for dear God, check charts. If you check charts and have basic knowledge, just the basics, you would know once this happened and then this happened, you knew this was going lower. And I think it stands to reason that we get down into here in the 75 range. Will it happen? I don't know. I hope not. I mean, as a guy who owns it, I hope not. But I'm not a buyer here. So I'm not going to pull up all my charts and how I look at these things, but this is not good. And this breakdown is not good. So under 90 we go, and to be expected. I'm sure people will be screaming buy the dip, whatever. Gold. Gold, on the other hand, carved out a low. I mentioned this on Friday, carved out a low really nicely, got above the 21. I decided to buy more gold, and I'll share also a position I bought. And I think this is actionable. I actually think gold looks really good. I think gold is back on the actionable list. And so how do you play gold? Well, one of the most boring things that I bought yesterday was GLDI. And this is not the sexiest thing. This is a call covering ETF traded off GLD. GLD is the gold ETF. If you want exposure to gold, I like this because tomorrow is the dividend date. If you own it today, going into tomorrow, You will collect your dividend next week. Every month it pays out a distribution, as you can say, dividend, dividend, dividend. Okay. So we are going to get a dividend next week if you own it today. For me, I bought this yesterday. I bought a substantial amount. This is very boring, but because I'm in so much heavy cash right now, I wanted some exposure to gold. I own hard gold, and I like dividends. And so I thought the risk versus the reward was phenomenal. And I stand to think this is going higher, and I like the dividend. So it pays a $3 and something dividend per share. So I bought it. I'm not saying you have to go run out and get it. When I'm so heavy cash like I am right now, I'm defensive. This to me was an easy place to park some cash. And I did just that. And I'm up 2% from yesterday, and I'm going to collect a dividend. So, well, works out. If you want to play uh, gold, there's other things you could do. Barrick, I mentioned this. This is still actionable if you want gold exposure at a more economical price. I don't own it, but that's one that you could look at. So there's that. Okay. Now let's talk about the stocks that we got into, the ones that are working, the ones that are not working, what I'm taking this week. I'm going to start off with UTHR. I got into this yesterday. It's made a pretty cool descending base pattern. I have the pattern pulled up. This is a really cool pattern that it made. It popped up on my screener on Sunday. And I mean, it's just riding this moving average, and then it broke over this trend line. And I'd say this is actionable right now. I bought this yesterday. It's up less than a point. Not the cheapest stock, but I looked at it in options. It has volume, but I would probably tell you, uh, for the record, this is not financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. I would tell you could play this in options if you don't want to spend this kind of money. I think this is going higher, and I have entered this position as of yesterday pre-lunch or at lunch. Okay. Another one that is working still, and let me make sure that I make this clear. The biotech space and healthcare, I think, is the place to be. I think this is to catch a lot of interest. I got into this one 2 weeks ago. I laid this one out for everybody. I think this is actionable. Though again, I talked about it on Monday. I don't know what day their reading is. They have a reading coming up on their medication, but just phenomenal over the trend line. Um, I don't see how you can't like this stock. I'm not advising to buy it, but I do own it. So and I also think this was a clear-cut indication this buying. And I want to mention that on FinViz, this is my particular platform that I like for researching. If you hit the insider tab on the elite one, it gives you a lot of insider buying and selling. Just for the record, this is something that's kind of cool to use to give yourself some ideas and some setups. I'm not saying that this is the end all be all, but I'm saying it's kind of cool to use. I will make this a point of tagging my affiliate link in the comment section. If you guys want to use it, you get a discount. I get a little commission or whatever. Maybe I can buy myself a drink with it. All right, cool. So I use that tab. And so that leads me into a segue of BHVN, which I mentioned on Monday. I did buy this. I bought this Monday, which was this day. Tuesday, it shot up about 20%. It's giving back three, so I think I'm up like 15% on this. I think it's still actionable, actually. I think it carved out the low, and this is a large gap to fill. And I think you could look at 14, $15 a share here. I actually think it's going to happen. I love the insider buying. I see the conviction here. So I got in Monday. I mentioned it on my video. I also tagged it on my Instagram. I made a video. I talked about it when I got in, and good move yesterday. Given a little bit back. I think we're going to have an inside day today. So probably a decent opportunity if you don't own it to get into it. Okay. So those have been working. Very few things on the long side have been working. I'm going to also give you an idea that I did get in this morning. For a good friend of mine, used to work for them. He knows who he is. I got into Oracle this morning on option calls and some shares. I took like a floater position to start off. So normally I buy strength, but I think it carved out a low. And again, I think the risk reward is phenomenal here with the curling action. So I think your overhead supply is 260. I took 240 calls, and did I did shares. I think we're going to get a gap fill here. I like it. I like the risk reward. I think the way to do this is if you're looking for an entry, what I did was I set my stop loss on the bottom of this. So I bought it this morning, I think at 220, and I set a stop loss for like 207 or 208. So I'll know right out the gate whether this is going to work or not. I happen to think this is a good trade for the week. I think the risk is very minimal here, so it's a good setup. And I have officially entered that trade early this morning. So we'll see how that pans out. And that's also on the long side. All right, I'm going to go to one more on the long side just because I'm going to touch on it. It's one of my favorite stocks. But AM, you know what? Let's pull it up on this chart here, just a little bit easier visual for you guys. AMD. So with NVIDIA reporting after hours, this is going to have a direct effect on this. So you could expect AMD is either going to go up or down tomorrow. I'm still very much a believer in AMD. I think this is going to bode well in the event that it goes positive. I don't like these moving averages curling down. I don't like this. This is not, I would not call this a buy, but I would say, though, that if this gets above this here, I think it's a buy. I own a large position in this, so I'll be watching this closely. That's it for the long side. I don't think I have anything else for you on the long. Yeah, that is it on the long side. Now I'm going to take you down a path on the short side. So, what short am I still in? I am still in Microsoft short. I got in last week. I think I mentioned this. This to me, I mean, you see the double top call out. Now, first of all, every cup and handle is a double top. So I don't really read into double top that every great breakout stock has always been a double top. So I care more about the double bottom than I do double top. And for some of you, you're probably like, what the hell is that? That's like Chinese. It's just a pattern, whatever. It's not the end all be all. So I think this is going lower. I think it has a date with the 200. I'm still in my short. I'm not telling you should do it. And for guys that are not experienced, the way you could either play that is through options um, on the short side, which I did, or you can short it. Up to you. That's something you can take on the short side. Okay, so sorry, I had to pause there for a sec. That's what you have on the short side. I do think Microsoft is actionable on the downside. I've told a couple people again, doing it through options is not cheap. Every option and puts, depending on your time frame, is well over $1,000. So evaluate your risk. Um, oh, you know what? I will do one long, and I'm sorry, I kind of skipped this was Bloom Energy. So I mentioned that I went against my rules, and on this day I bought shares. And the reason I bought shares on this day, I think it was last week, Thursday, I think it was 20% down. It came down to the 50, and I just saw it as such an opportunity. I like this company a lot, so I bought it. It had a great day up. The one thing I'll tell you is this was very loose. I like things tight, and when things were tight like this, it was healthy. Once things start to get loose like that, it's difficult to trade and make money. So I still think this is something as an investment. I wouldn't necessarily call this a trade, and I don't think your stop loss should be very tight on that if you do. Okay, uh, let's see what we got. So that is pretty much it on that specific long name. I have been shorting. I'll tell you what I have been shorting. CoreWeave, I shorted last week. I did close this out yesterday because it had a little curl. This is one you want to see if it breaks down. If it gets below this low, that's on your short list. So pay attention if it gets below this low at 71. That would be an actionable short item. And I would tell you that's really it. I mean, there's other names. I don't want everybody to jump into shorts because the market has been beat down quite a bit and it could turn around. So let's not start looking at particular ones to get into short side. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple names that you have to ask yourself if you should have some exposure to it. SDS, this is a double leverage short, and this is the double levered short on the S&P. I showed you guys the single levered. This is the double levered, so it's double the strength of the move. This is something that you can use, and QID, which is the opposite of NASDAQ. So for the record, I use these. I use these in times where I think the market is going to go down temporarily, or I use them in times where the market has run up substantially, and I use it as insurance. You can look at this. This is an option for you. And I got to tell you, and I think that's pretty much it. I don't have much else until I get some clarity from the market after hours, and I will be back on Friday to give you some plays for the week. But I think I laid out some good names. I think you could consider. Um, yeah, be diligent. Understand that we have shifting and moving, and NVIDIA is going to move this market some way somehow today. So. All right, guys, have a great week. I'll be back Friday. Enjoy the educational purposes, and don't be a putz.